Okay, so I tried to go on live and I don't know, something was happening. Um, it's neither here nor there. I felt led to just share a little bit of um, just a little synopsis of each chapter of my latest book, Eden's Daughters. I started to do like a minute synopsis like I did for my first book that is posted on YouTube, but felt led to actually like teach and talk about each chapter. And so um, that's what I'm going to do. I'll try doing live another time, but I just feel it's just so relevant because it's interesting that the books that I wrote a few years ago are literally ministering to me today. Like um though like Holy Spirit was like flowing through me and I knew what I was writing at the time, I'm like being tested right now in regards to the things that I've written. It's miraculous, to be honest. And so yeah, I thought I'd share. Um and yeah, let's get started. So I was gonna just go over chapter one really, and just share some of the things that I wrote. So when I began writing this book, it's called Eden's Daughters, Appraised by God, Not Society. When I began writing this book, it was an idea given by God literally after I wrote my first book, and he gave me he gave me the download. I was in prayer and he gave me downloads on what topics I should address in regards to a woman's worth and how and why women are feeling the way they feel, unworthy, their identity tied to people, places, and things, how society views us, things like that. And so I came out the gate writing chapter after chapter, and then all of a sudden I just kind of went blank. There was nothing else for me to write. I couldn't think of anything else to write, or he wasn't really downloading anything. And so I put the book to the side, and then realized during the pandemic, I picked it back up and realized that I hadn't grown into who I needed to be to finish the book. There were more tests, there were more things that I needed to experience in order for me to finish the book. And so sure enough, I ended up picking up the book again back when I was feeling insecure about my money, insecure about career, because I was supposed to be this entrepreneur, but yeah, I'm still at this job, and had to get back into debt. Like I was just feeling insecure about stuff that you wouldn't necessarily hear about. Like we hear about women being insecure about their body, about being single, about not having a husband, things like that. But it's very rare that we hear about people being insecure about their money or their lack thereof, and talk about it, right? Or what they have, their possessions, whether or not they're a homeowner or not. And because your definition of the American dream, and if you don't have the American dream, the if you don't own a home or your dream car, then you're worthless. But no, that's not the case. And so I wrote from that place. And so it's interesting because I finished writing it in the book last year, but now I'm like really feeling like where I am on this walk with God. I'm really feeling, and maybe because I'm not tied as I need to be, or I was previously, when I first started writing books, because I was like really tied in, like really, really, really tied in. I mean, oh man, I want to get back to that, but and maybe because I wasn't as tight with God, I'm starting to feel, or I have been feeling insecure in different areas of my life. And so when I pick up this book, it's like literally ministering to me now. And so I wanted to share just some of the things that I talk about. So today I'm just going to go over chapter 1 and just my mindset. And one thing I want to address in the introduction, like the first thing that I talk about is the song Worth by Anthony Brown, and how in the song where he says, "You thought I was to die for," to think Jesus sacrificed his life so we can be free, whole, and tell everyone about it. It's literally the only reason why I do what I do. Is literally the only reason why I write what I write. It's the reason why I'm so transparent, is because he sacrificed his life for me to do that, right? To be free, to be whole, and tell everyone that I know, right? So I address that because a lot of people may look at my videos and be like, why is she telling her business? Why is she do that? Which I mean, I could care less what you think. But to answer your question, if that is a question of yours, what's the point in going through something and keeping it to yourself when you could potentially free the next person, regardless of how ugly and dark and dirty something may be? If God's asking you to share it, I advise you to do that, because you never know who you are helping, whose life you're potentially saving. So that's an introduction. So real quickly, I feel like I've talked oh gosh, I really talked so much. That's another thing, like when I do videos, it's like, okay, don't make it too long because people's attention spans are so short, but this video is going to be seen by whoever is meant to look at it. So there's that. The first chapter, I'm only going over chapter 1 today. It's called Beauty Is Your Name. And yes, if you know the song Beauty by Dru Hill, that's exactly what it was named after. As a matter of fact, when God gave me the topics to talk about, it's crazy because I came up with a song for each chapter. Only thing is I couldn't name each chapter the name of the song because I don't have the rights to the song, so I couldn't do that. So I had to change it. Beauty Is Your Name. And the reason why I changed it that is because we think of songs like Beauty, right? I love Beauty by Dru Hill. If you think about the words to the song, right? He says, beauty is your name. If you think about your name is your identity, right? And so if you say beauty is your name, beauty is your identity, then we assume beauty is your identity, and that's not the case. But unfortunately, we are taught that how we look is who we are, right? We've got to have the makeup, the $100 lashes, which is cool. I mean, I like makeup. I'm starting to like makeup, and that's a whole nother story because I've come a long way. I'm starting to like makeup, but a lot of women have their identity tied into how they look, the makeup, the contour, the weight loss. We're in this generation of like having big breasts and big butts is the definition of beauty, where back in the day it was like if you were a stick figure, that was beautiful, right? And when I wrote this chapter, or finished writing this chapter, I was actually very insecure about my weight. I had just maybe gained about 15 pounds. It was in the midst of the pandemic, and it was the first time I've ever been uncomfortable with my weight and how I looked, because, you know, as an athlete growing up, I always took care of my body, always loved my body, and never had any issues until the pandemic hit. And so talk about body image and how we are constantly fed through society how we should look. And I'm sorry, I keep moving back and forth. I'm in my car because my Airbnb doesn't have a desk for me and good lighting, and so This is the next best thing. My car always got great lighting, so just bear with me. And so I talk about how, let me go back, talk about how we are led by social media, society, how people look on TV, celebrities, and we think that's how we're supposed to look. And we identify our worth off of that, whether or not we are heavy set or skinny. Like right now, I was going to say the skinniest I've ever been. That's not the case. I'm the same weight I was when I was a freshman in high school. Senior in high school. And I'm skinny, and I do not like how I look now. And I'm, like I said, reading this, and I'm ministering to myself, because it's not about how you look. We do so much, we put so much emphasis on how we look physically, go to the gym, go on diets, but the main message of the chapter is, what are you doing spiritually, right? That's all God matters, is about your spirit. At the end of the day, of course, we're made up of you got your body, you got your spirit, and you got your soul. Like, what are you doing spiritually, which is the most important part of you, right? What are you doing spiritually to become better, right? Do you have the fruit of the Spirit? We spend so much time physically on our bodies, but like, how much time are you spending spiritually, which is the most important part of you? And so that's basically the message in chapter 1. It just talks about how society has basically brainwashed into feeling a certain way about how we look and feel physically, and just gives you some things to think about in regards to growing spiritually. And it's just, again, I'm reading this and I'm just like, oh yeah, I forgot. Like, literally talking to myself now. So I'm just gonna read this little snippet and then I'll be done. In Genesis 3:7, Adam's and Eve's eyes were opened and they knew the truth. Not only did they know about good and evil, but they also knew the character of the serpent. When God opens your eyes about someone's character, past the makeup and the muscles, past their beauty, do you accept it at face value? Or are you blinded by society's definition of beauty that you refuse to accept who they really are? Better yet, have you looked yourself in the mirror, underneath the makeup, underneath the muscles? Have you addressed yourself, looked at your reflection, and seen your truth? Have you done an analysis of your character, your spiritual being, who you are? Are you who you want to be? Are your eyes open? You are so quick to find character flaws in other people, but what about yourself? What are you doing to work on your character? How are you working on your spirit? So I'll leave you with that. First chapter is about how we spend a lot of emphasis on how we look on the outside as opposed to who we are spiritually. And what are you doing to strengthen your spirit, to be a better person on the inside? Chapter 1, beauty is your name. So that is that. And come back tomorrow. I think I'll be back tomorrow and I'll go over chapter 2.